A soldier's daughter, Maya Thompson and her friends were appalled when they saw Amara Harris join the cheer squad at Ridgeview High. To them, she was a black girl who didn't fit with their historically white cheerleaders. So, they schemed to remove her the only way they knew, through hostility. But what Maya couldn't discern beneath Amara's poised silence was tactical training from her Navy SEAL father. They assumed she was defenseless, that she'd collapse like their past targets. They were disastrously mistaken, and Amara Harris was about to show them the consequences of entitled bullies fatally underestimating a soldier's daughter. Before we dive deeper, share where in the world you're reading from, and consider following for more. Because tomorrow's tale is one you won't want to miss. The gymnasium hummed with anticipation as 23 girls lined up for the final cheer team announcements. Amara Harris stood third from the left, hands steady despite the pounding in her chest. She'd aced every routine, hit every mark, and smiled until her cheeks ached during 3 grueling days of tryouts. Ladies, you've all shown remarkable spirit and dedication. Coach Anderson began, her clipboard held like a shield. This year's Ridgeview High varsity cheer team will represent our school with pride and excellence. Amara's eyes scanned the gym, noting the sea of blonde ponytails and spray tans around her. She spotted the football team slipping in through the side doors. Their practice just ended. Maya Thompson led the group, her quarterback's confidence clear even in sweaty gear. Ethan Carter flanked her, thick arms crossed, while Noah Reed trailed behind, eager to fit in. The following girls have earned their place on this year's squad. Coach Anderson continued. She read the list alphabetically, each name met with squeals and hugs. Amara Harris. The word struck her like lightning. She'd made it, truly made it. Around her, congratulations mixed with thinly veiled surprise from some girls. Amara kept her expression composed, professional, as her father had taught. Across the gym, she felt eyes on her. Maya Thompson stared, jaw tight. She leaned to whisper to Ethan, who shook his head in disgust. Noah looked puzzled, mimicking his friends. Congratulations to our new Eagles. Coach Anderson clapped. Team meeting tomorrow after school. We have much work before homecoming. As the celebration buzzed, Amara grabbed her gym bag and headed for the exit. The football players had positioned themselves near the doors, a convenient coincidence that quickened her pulse. Excuse me, she said politely, trying to pass. Maya stepped slightly right, not fully blocking her but forcing her to squeeze by. So, you're the new cheer squad member, Maya said. That's right. Amara met her gaze directly. Interesting choice by Coach Anderson. Ethan's voice carried just enough for nearby students to hear. Very progressive. I earned my spot like everyone else. Amara replied evenly. No shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent as Maya smiled. A smile that never reached her eyes. Oh, I'm sure you did. It's just our fans have expectations about what cheerleaders should look like. The words lingered like smoke. Other students slowed their chatter, sensing tension. And what should they look like? Amara asked, voice steady despite the heat in her chest. You know. Maya shrugged, traditional, girls who embody eagle pride. Blonde hair, school spirit, the whole package, like Barbie dolls. Amara tilted her head slightly. Ethan stepped forward. Like girls who belong here. Girls who get what this school's about. I understand perfectly. Amara adjusted her bag strap. This school's about excellence, academics, and representing our community with pride. That's what I plan to do. Maya's smile wavered briefly before returning. We'll see. Football season's long. Lots of games, lots of pressure. Not everyone's cut out for it. Good thing I am. Amara pushed past without another word, feeling their stares burn into her back. Meanwhile, the 3 boys watched her leave, their expressions darkening as students filtered toward the parking lot. Are you serious right now? Maya's voice dropped, meant only for her friends. They actually put her on the squad. Ethan spat toward a trash can. This is the garbage ruining our school. What's next? They'll make us kneel for the anthem. What if she's one of those girls who thinks she's better than everyone? Noah finally spoke, voice uncertain but trying to match their energy. Like, acts all smart. Oh, she definitely thinks she's special, Maya replied, jaw clenched. Did you see how she looked at us? Like we were the problem. Ethan's face twisted. I'm not cheering next to that. My dad'll lose it when he hears they put some diversity higher on the squad instead of Emily Roberts. Emily's waited 2 years for this. It's not right? Maya shook her head. Or fans don't want to see that representing our school. They want real Eagle girls, not some. She let the sentence hang, but her meaning was clear. No nodded eagerly, desperate to fit in. Yeah, exactly. Like, what'll people think when they see our cheerleaders? This isn't that kind of school. Well, she's about to learn what kind of school this really is, Ethan said, cracking his knuckles. Football season's gonna be real educational for her. Maya's smile returned, cold and calculating. Oh yeah, real educational. The harassment started small, almost dismissible as coincidence. Monday morning, Amara found her locker slightly ajar, her combination lock open, books rearranged. Nothing missing, just disturbed. She glanced down the hallway, catching Maya Thompson's eye 3 lockers away. She was chatting with a sophomore girl but kept glancing at Amara. Weird, Amara muttered, reorganizing her textbooks. By third period, word of the new cheer roster had spread. Amara felt stares in every hallway, heard whispers that stopped when she passed. Some students smiled encouragingly, but others looked confused, like she was a puzzle they couldn't solve. Hey, Amara, Olivia Baker, a senior cheerleader, caught up after English class. I'm so excited you made the team. We're gonna have an amazing season. Thanks, Olivia. I can't wait to start. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. Okay, you earned this like the rest of us. Olivia's need to say it confirmed Amara's suspicions. People were talking. During lunch, Amara sat with her Honor Society friends when Ethan Carter walked by, his shoulder bumping her chair hard enough to jolt her backward. Oops, he said without stopping or looking back. Sorry, her friend Sophia frowned. That was odd. Ethan's never that clumsy. Maybe he's having an off day, Amara replied, but she cataloged the incident mentally. The real message came during 7th period study hall. Amara checked her phone and found an Instagram notification. Someone tagged her in a post. A screenshot of the school's cheer team announcement, her name circled in red. The caption read, "Guess Ridgeview's going woke now. Rip real Eagle pride. Fen not my cheerleader." The post had 37 likes and comments that churned her stomach. Most avoided outright slurs, but the message was clear. Diversity hire much. She doesn't even look like she belongs. There goes the neighborhood. Amara screenshotted everything before blocking the account, Agla Pride 2024, clearly fake. Her hand shook slightly as she pocketed her phone. At cheer practice that afternoon, tension was palpable. Coach Anderson ran basic routines, but Amara felt sideways glances from some teammates. Olivia and a few others were genuinely welcoming, but others seemed to be waiting for something to happen. All right, ladies, let's run the homecoming routine once more, Coach Anderson called. Or Mara, you're in the back row for now until you master the formations. As they lined up, Sophie Evans, a junior with perfectly curled blonde hair, stood directly in front of Amara. During the routine, Sophie kept stepping back slightly, forcing Amara to adjust her spacing. Sorry, Sophie whispered each time, still getting used to the new formation. By practice's end, Amara had been stepped on twice and elbowed once during a turn. All accidents, per Sophie's apologetic smile. Walking to her car afterward, Amara noticed the football team finishing practice on the adjacent field. Maya Thompson was deep in conversation with Coach Thompson, both glancing toward the parking lot where cheerleaders loaded gear. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. How was first practice? Warrior, fine, she typed then deleted. Good. Learning routines. Pick you up for dinner. Want to hear about it? I'll drive myself home. See you there? That evening, at their kitchen table, Amara picked at her grilled chicken while Commander Harass studied her with the focus that made him an effective military leader. You're quiet tonight, he observed. Just tired. New team. Lots to learn. He set down his fork. How are your teammates treating you? Amara hesitated. Her father taught her to be honest about threats, but she knew his protective instincts. Most are fine. There's always an adjustment period. What about the ones who aren't fine? She looked up sharply. What makes you think? Amara. His voice held the patience of someone who'd interrogated enemy combatants. I didn't raise you to lie to me, especially about your safety. What's happening? She sighed, showing him the Instagram post. His expression darkened as he read the comments. This is just the start, he said quietly. Anonymous posts, accidents at practice, territorial games. They're testing you, seeing how you'll respond. So, what do? Document everything? Screenshots? Witnesses times dates. Don't react yet. Let them reveal their hand. Heard if it escalates. Commander Harris's smile was razor thin. Then we discuss options. But for now, stay alert, stay smart. They picked the wrong girl to intimidate. As Amara headed upstairs for homework, she didn't notice the black pickup parked across the street for the past hour, or the three figures inside watching her house with growing resentment. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and Maya Thompson was already plotting her next move. The harassment escalated over the next 2 weeks, like water building behind a dam. Tuesday morning, Amara found her cheer shoes missing from her gym locker. She'd left them there after practice, now gone. Coach Anderson lent her an old pair 2 sizes too big. That's strange. Olivia frowned. Who'd take someone's shoes? Maybe they fell out. Sophie suggested with feigned concern. These old lockers are so unreliable. Amara said nothing but noticed Maya Thompson smirking at her oversized shoes during their shared chemistry class. Wednesday brought a new low. Someone left a banana on her car windshield with a note, "Monkey see, monkey do." Amara crumpled the paper, tossed both in the trash, but her hands shook with rage as she drove home. Thursday, her locker was vandalized. Go home, scratched into the metal door. When she reported it to Principal Roberts, he sighed heavily. I'll have maintenance look at it, but vandalism's hard to prove without witnesses. Are you sure you want to make a big deal of this? Sometimes it's better to let things blow over. So, I should accept someone destroying school property because of my race. No, Amara. Let's not jump to conclusions about motivation. What other motivation would there be? Principal Roberts shifted uncomfortably. I'll talk to some students, see what I can find out. Meantime, maybe keep a low profile. That afternoon, the real message came during lunch. Amara passed the football table when Ethan Carter stuck out his foot. She stumbled but caught herself. Watch where you're going, he said loudly, drawing half the cafeteria's attention. You tripped me. Ethan stood all 6'3" towering over her. You calling me a liar? The cafeteria quated. Maya Thompson and Noah Reed flanked Ethan, forming a wall of Letterman jackets. I'm saying move your foot, Amara replied evenly. Or what? Maya stepped forward. Gonna run crying to daddy? Oh wait, I heard he's some military guy. Must be embarrassing having a daughter who can't handle high school. The words stung like a slap. Amara felt heat in her cheeks but kept her voice steady. At least my father taught me to be a decent human. Ethan's face flushed. You think you're better than us? Walking around like you own the place. I think I belong here as much as anyone. No, Noah finally spoke, voice shaky but eager to impress. You really don't. Several students pulled out phones, sensing drama. Amara realized she was outnumbered, surrounded, with dozens of cameras potentially recording her humiliation. We'll see, she said quietly, walking away. Behind her, Maya's voice carried across the silent cafeteria. Yeah, walk away. That's what you people do best. The phrase you, people, echoed in her head all day. Friday brought the incident that changed everything. It was game day, the school buzzing with excitement for the homecoming matchup against rivals. Amara had learned the routines well enough to move to the second row, feeling a genuine thrill about performing despite everything. Walking toward the gym for final preparations, she noticed a puddle. Recent rain had created a muddy depression outside the entrance, about 3 feet wide and 6 inches deep. Most students walked around it. Amara was texting her father about pickup when she heard footsteps behind her. She looked up as Maya Thompson grabbed her left arm. Hey, new girl. Got a message for you. Before she could react, Ethan Carter seized her right arm while Noah Reed blocked the view from the parking lot. What are you doing? Amara demanded, trying to pull free. Teaching you a lesson about knowing your place? Maya snarled. They shoved her backward toward the puddle. Amara dug her heels in, but her sneakers slipped on wet concrete. Stop it! She yelled. Loud enough that students turned. Hoops, Ethan said as they pushed her. Amara hit the muddy water hard, her uniform skirt tearing on hidden broken concrete. Cold, dirty water soaked her clothes as she scrambled up. The three stood over her, no longer hiding their satisfaction. Looks like you slipped, Maya said loudly. How clumsy! Several cheerleaders came outside, drawn by the commotion. Olivia gasped and rushed forward. Oh my God, Amara, are you okay? I'm fine, Amara managed, voice cracking. Mud streaked her face and arms, her torn uniform exposing her dignity along with her skin. Sophie Evans pulled out her phone. This is so going on Instagram. Fapic fail. Don't you dare! Olivia snapped. But Amara knew it was too late. By tonight, half the school would see her humiliation. The football players walked away, high-fiving like they'd scored a touchdown. Nice uniform, Ethan called. Really brings out your eyes, Maya laughed. Maybe now you'll think twice about where you belong. Amara sat in the mud for a few seconds. Not because she couldn't get up, but to memorize this moment. The cold mud seeping through her clothes, their laughter, the taste of humiliation, and the certainty that this could never happen again. Olivia helped her to her feet, offering tissues and apologies, but Amara barely heard. She was thinking of her father's voice. Sometimes you have to create your own justice when the system fails you. Tonight, she'd tell him everything. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin. Amara sat in her car in the school parking lot for 20 minutes after the game, still in her muddy, torn uniform. The Eagles had won 28-14, and she heard celebration echoes from the fieldhouse. But the victory felt hollow. She'd watched the game from the sidelines in a borrowed uniform that hung loose, a constant reminder of her humiliation. Her phone buzzed with texts, some supportive from Olivia and Honor Society friends, others sharing links to social media posts that churned her stomach. The video of her being shoved into the puddle had been shared 43 times with captions like, "Diversity hire gets reality check," and "When keeping it real goes wrong." Finally, she drove home. Commander Harass was waiting in the kitchen, setting down his coffee mug with deliberate precision when he saw her stained uniform. What happened? Amara had planned to ease into it, starting with minor incidents. But seeing her father's controlled expression, the same look he wore briefing his SEAL team before dangerous missions, she spilled everything. 3 football players have been harassing me since I made the team. Maya Thompson, Ethan Carter, and Noah Reed. It started with comments about how I don't belong, then missing shoes, vandalized locker, social media posts. Today, they shoved me into a mud puddle in front of half the cheer squad and tore my uniform. Her father listened without interruption, his face darkening. When she finished, silence stretched for several heartbeats. "Show me the social media posts," he said quietly. Amara handed over her phone. Commander Harass scrolled through, jaw tightening with each swipe. And the school's response. "Principal Roberts told me to keep a low profile and let it blow over." Something dangerous flickered in her father's eyes. "Did he now?" "Dad, I know what you're thinking." "What am I thinking?" "That you want to go to the school and handle this yourself. But that'll make things worse. They'll say I can't fight my own battles." Commander Harass studied her with new respect. "You're right, but this can't continue." "I know. That's why I need you to teach me everything. How to defend myself, fight back, make sure this never happens again." Her father weighed her words for a long moment. "Physical confrontation is always the last resort, Amara. Once you cross that line." "They already crossed it. They put their hands on me today." "Fair point." He leaned back. "But there are other ways to handle bullies. Strategic ways. You're David Harris's daughter. You're smarter, more disciplined, and you have something they don't." "What's that?" "Patience. And a father who spent 20 years learning to neutralize threats." His smile was cold as winter steel. "Tell me everything about them. Their schedules, habits, weaknesses. We'll plan this like a military operation." Meanwhile, across town at Maya Thompson's house, the 3 football players celebrated their victory in more ways than one. "Did you see her face when she hit that water?" Noah laughed, sipping stolen beer. "Priceless. The best part was her trying to act tough afterward." Ethan added, "Like she wasn't totally humiliated." Maya sat back in her gaming chair, satisfied. "That should send the message. She doesn't belong, and we're not pretending she does." "Think she'll quit the team?" Noah asked hopefully. "Nah." Ethan shook his head. "Girls like her are stubborn. She'll probably double down. Try to prove something. Then we'll get more creative," Maya said. "Can't have her thinking she can ignore us. What if she tells someone, like her parents?" Noah's voice held worry. Ethan snorted. "Tell them what?" "That she's clumsy and fell in a puddle. We didn't do anything wrong. Just 3 guys walking to practice when she tripped." "Exactly," Maya agreed. "And if she tries to make something of it, who'll believe her over us? My dad practically built the new gymnasium. Ethan's dad is on the school board. We're Eagle royalty, and she's..." She shrugged. Noah nodded eagerly. "Plus, Coach Thompson loves us. Principal Roberts won't mess with the football program over some diversity cheerleader with an attitude. Oh, speaking of which, Ethan pulled out his phone. Check this out. He showed a group text with other football players and their girlfriends. The video of Amara's humiliation was spreading, with commentary growing cruder each share. Tommy Davis said his girlfriend might quit the team if they don't do something about the problem. Ethan reported. Some girls are getting uncomfortable. Good, Maya said. Let them be uncomfortable. Maybe they'll pressure Coach Anderson to adjust the roster. What if that doesn't work? Noah asked. Maya's expression hardened. Then we escalate. Make her so miserable she has no choice but to transfer schools. How far are we talking? Ethan leaned forward, interested. As far as it takes. This is our school, our team, our traditions. I'm not letting some outsider ruin what we've built. Back at the Harass house, father and daughter were deep in strategic planning. The key to any successful operation is intelligence gathering, Commander Harass explained. Know your targets better than they know themselves. What motivates them? What scares them? What would hurt them most? Maya Thompson's the leader, Amara said. Star quarterback, rich family. Her dad owns Thompson Construction, built half the town's buildings. Vulnerabilities. She's being recruited by several colleges. Football's everything to her. Good. The others. Ethan Carter's father is on the school board. Ethan's not as smart as Maya but more violent. Scholarship kid, I think. Football's his ticket out. No Reed's a follower, not a leader. Desperate to fit in. Parents are divorced, lives with his mom. Commander Harass nodded approvingly. You've been paying attention. Lesson 1. Never attack when your enemy expects it. They're confident now, untouchable. That's when they make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that leave evidence. The kind that expose them for what they are. He stood. But first, we ensure you can protect yourself if this gets physical again. Fight training? Survival training. There's a difference. His expression grew serious. What happened today was just the start, Amara. They'll escalate because you didn't break. Are you prepared for that? Oh, Amara thought of the mud, the laughter. The camera's recording her humiliation. I'm prepared for whatever it takes. Then we start tomorrow. But we're not just teaching you to fight. We're teaching you to win. Saturday morning brought Amara's first lesson in tactical awareness. They started at 6 in the morning in the basement, which Commander Harass had converted into a training space years ago. Punching bags hung from reinforced beams. Thick mats covered the concrete floor. Forget everything you think you know about fighting, he began, circling her slowly. Movies, TV, video games, they're garbage. Real combat is about efficiency, not entertainment. What do you mean? You don't waste energy on fancy moves or dramatic gestures. Identify the threat, neutralize it, get out. 3 seconds or less. He moved behind a punching bag, demonstrating throat strike to crush the windpipe, knee to the solar plexus to drop them, heel stump to break the instep so they can't chase. Amara memorized the movements. But before any of that, you observe. Learn their patterns, weaknesses, blind spots. Sun Tzu said, the supreme excellence is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So, I study them first. You study everything. Where they go, who they talk to, what they care about. Information is power, leverage. They spent the next hour drilling defensive moves, breaking a grab, creating distance, striking effectively despite her smaller size. Amara's muscles burned, but she pushed through. Your advantage isn't strength, her father explained. It's speed, intelligence, surprise. They expect a victim. Use that against them. By 8, Amara was exhausted but energized. Her father handed her a water bottle and notebook. Your homework starts now. Detailed intelligence on all 3 targets. Where they park, routes between classes, who they're with, everything. How do I do that without being obvious? Commander Harass smiled. Be invisible. Watch from a distance, listen to conversations, become background. Like a spy. Or exactly like a spy. The Monday morning, Amara began her reconnaissance. She arrived at school 30 minutes early, positioning herself in the library with a view of the student parking lot. Maya Thompson pulled up in her black Dodge Challenger at exactly 7:47, parking near the gym entrance. Ethan Carter arrived 3 minutes later in a beat-up Ford truck, parking 2 rows back. Noah Reed came last, dropped off by his mom in a silver Honda Civic. During lunch, Amara sat with her back to the football table, using her phone's camera to record their conversation patterns. Maya dominated discussions. Ethan added aggressive commentary. No mostly laughed inappropriately. Between classes, she mapped their routes. Maya took the long way to avoid crowds. Ethan cut through the arts hallway where teachers rarely patrolled. Noah followed whichever friend was closest. After 3 days, she had 15 pages of notes. Excellent work, her father said that evening, reviewing her intelligence. What have you learned about their vulnerabilities? Maya's identity is built around football and reputation. She's being recruited by State University and Alabama. Ethan's family has money problems. I heard him arguing with his girlfriend about not affording homecoming dinner. Noah's desperate to belong somewhere. Good. What would hurt each most? Amara considered. Maya would be devastated if her college prospects vanished. Ethan needs his scholarship or he can't afford college. Noah would crumble if the other two rejected him. And how might their college prospects disappear? If they got in serious trouble, like arrested. Commander Harass nodded. Or if evidence surfaced of behavior college recruiters find unacceptable. What kind of evidence? Depends on what they're hiding. Everyone has secrets, Amara. The trick is finding them. Meanwhile, the three boys grew bolder, convinced Amara's continued presence meant she was weak. They began planning something bigger than mud puddles and stolen shoes. That evening, Amara was updating her intelligence files when her father knocked on her bedroom door. How's reconnaissance going? Good. I understand their dynamic now. Maya's the strategic thinker, Ethan's the enforcer. Noah's the weak link. Weak links are useful. They break first under pressure. Dad, what if they escalate before I'm ready to fight back? Commander Harris's expression grew serious. Remember what I taught about survival. Protect yourself first, strategy second. But from your observations, what's their next move? Amara considered their patterns, personalities, motivations. Something bigger than the puddle. They want me to quit, so they'll humiliate me in a way that can't be ignored. Then we'd better accelerate your training. Tomorrow, we start phase 2. What's phase 2? Her father's smile was sharp as a blade, learning to turn their strengths into weaknesses. 8. Phase 1 targets Maya Thompson. Commander Harass explained over breakfast Thursday morning. She's the leader, so taking her down sends a message. How? Her father slid a manila folder across the table, containing photocopies of prescription bottles and a small bag of white pills. Where'd you get these? Amara asked, alarmed. The nurse's office has poor security. These are expired anxiety meds, supposed to be disposed of properly. His voice was matter of fact. The bottles have patient info, but names are obscured. You want me to plant drugs in her truck. I want you to create a situation where Maya Thompson faces real consequences for the first time in her privileged life. College scouts don't recruit students with drug possession charges. Amara stared at the pills, feeling the decision's weight. This could ruin her entire future. Just like she's trying to ruin yours. The difference is, you didn't start this war. But what if? Amara, her father's voice was gentle but firm. These boys shoved you into a mud puddle, humiliated you in front of peers. They've made it clear they won't stop until you're gone. Sometimes, the only way to deal with a bully is to hit where it hurts most. She nodded slowly, tucking the folder into her backpack. Friday afternoon. Amara waited in the parking lot after school, positioned behind a van with a clear view of Maya's Challenger. Most students had left, but football practice wouldn't start for another 30 minutes. Perfect timing. Maya's truck sat alone in the senior athlete parking spots. Amara had watched her for a week, knew she always hit the weight room before practice, leaving her truck unlocked because no one would dare mess with it. Amara approached casually, as if heading to her own car 3 rows away. When she was sure no one was watching, she opened the passenger door. The truck smelled of expensive cologne and arrogance. She slipped the prescription bottle under the passenger seat, visible but not obvious, and scattered the loose pills in the center console among change and receipts. Her hands shook as she closed the door and walked away. 2 hours later, during football practice, an anonymous tip hit the school's drug hotline, reporting suspicious activity around Maya Thompson's vehicle and suggesting an investigation before she drove home under the influence. Principal Roberts and School Resource Officer Deputy Hayes approached Maya during practice. Thompson, we need to search your vehicle, Deputy Hayes announced. What? Why? Maya's confidence faltered. Anonymous tip about drug activity. Probably nothing, but we have to check. But Maya's teammates gathered, drawn by the commotion. Coach Thompson jogged over. What's the problem? Just a routine search, coach. Should take a few minutes. But it didn't. Deputy Hayes found the prescription bottle immediately, and the loose pills sealed Maya's fate. Whose prescription is this? The deputy asked, holding the bottle with the obscured label. I don't know. I've never seen that before. Maya's voice cracked with panic. You're saying someone planted drugs in your unlocked truck? Yes. Maybe. I don't know how they got there. Principal Roberts sighed. Maya, this is serious. These are controlled substances. I'm not using drugs. Ask anyone. Test me, now. That's not the issue. Possession is possession. Coach Thompson stepped forward. Hold on, Principal Roberts. Maya's one of our best players. There's a mistake. Coach, I have to follow protocol. Maya, you're suspended pending investigation. Deputy Hayes will handle the legal aspects. The color drained from Maya's face. Suspended. But playoffs are coming. College scouts are watching. Should have thought about that before bringing these to school. Deputy Hayes said, bagging the evidence. This is insane. Someone's setting me up. Who would do that? Principal Roberts asked. Maya's eyes darted around the circle of teammates, coaches, officials. For the first time, she looked genuinely frightened. I don't know, but this isn't mine. From the bleachers, where she was stretching with the cheer squad, Amara watched the scene unfold. Olivia leaned over. What's happening? Looks like Maya's in trouble. Amara replied, voice neutral. Drug trouble, from what I hear. That's crazy. Maya doesn't seem the type. You never really know people, Amara said quietly. Across the field, Maya was led away from practice in handcuffs. Ethan Carter and Noah Reed watched in stunned silence as their leader was placed in a police cruiser. This is messed up, Ethan muttered. Maya doesn't do that stuff. Maybe someone planted them. Noah said nervously. Who would do that? Noah's eyes found Amara on the sidelines, going through cheer motions, seemingly oblivious to the drama. I don't know, he said slowly. But Maya made a lot of enemies lately. That evening, local news reported the arrest of a star high school quarterback on possession charges. Maya's father hired an expensive lawyer within hours, but the damage was done. State University withdrew their recruitment offer that night, and Alabama followed the next morning. At the Harass house, Amara and her father watched the coverage over dinner. Phase 1 complete, Commander Harass said quietly. I should feel good, Amara said, pushing food around her plate. But I just feel empty. That's normal. Justice isn't always satisfying in the moment. But ask yourself, how many other students won't be bullied because Maya Thompson learned actions have consequences? Amara nodded, thinking of kids who might avoid her humiliation. What's phase 2? Ethan Carter. This time, we let him destroy himself. Maya's arrest sent shockwaves through Ridgeview High. By Monday, everyone knew the star quarterback faced serious charges and lost her college scholarships. The football team looked shocked, and Ethan Carter stepped into the leadership vacuum with barely contained rage. This is all wrong, Ethan said loudly during lunch, his voice carrying across the cafeteria. Maya doesn't do that stuff. Someone set her up. His girlfriend Lily rubbed his shoulder. Maybe the charges won't stick. Maybe she'll get her scholarships back. No way. Colleges don't take chances on players with drug records. Ethan's fist clenched around his sandwich. Someone destroyed her life, and I'm gonna find out who. Amara sat 3 tables away, eating quietly. Listening to every word, she felt Ethan's eyes scanning the cafeteria, searching for suspects. That afternoon, Commander Harass reviewed the intelligence files on Ethan Carter. Family struggling financially? He noted. Father works construction, mother's a part-time secretary. Ethan needs that football scholarship, or he's looking at community college and loans. So, we target his scholarship chances too. Her father nodded grimly. But Ethan's different from Maya. He's not entitled. He's desperate. And desperate people are more dangerous. What do you mean? Ethan's the type to escalate to violence when cornered. We need to be careful. He pulled out a small vaping device and several small bags. Your intelligence paid off. Ethan's been selling vapes to underclassmen behind the gym. Amara stared at the evidence. How did you? Followed him yesterday after school. Watched him make 3 sales to freshmen. $50 each for devices that cost him $20 online. So he's already breaking the law. Exactly. We don't need to plant evidence this time. We just ensure the right people find out what he's doing. Amara felt conflicted. Dad, what if this ruins his whole future? His family needs that scholarship money. Commander Harris's expression grew serious. Amara, this is the hardest part of any operation, questioning if your actions are justified. But remember what Ethan did to you. Remember how he laughed when you were covered in mud. And remember he's selling nicotine to 14-year-olds for profit. Ethan Carter made his choices long before we got involved. That evening, Amara wrestled with the decision. She thought of Ethan's desperation, his family struggles, his face when Maya was arrested. But then she remembered his hands grabbing her arms, his voice saying, "You people." His laughter as she sat in that puddle. Tuesday afternoon, she made her choice. During Ethan's usual selling time behind the gym, Amara positioned herself in the nearby art building with her phone camera ready. She recorded Ethan completing 2 transactions with freshman boys, clearly exchanging money for vaping devices. Wednesday morning, she anonymously submitted the video to Principal Roberts' office, along with screenshots of Ethan's Venmo transactions matching the video's timestamps. The confrontation happened during third period chemistry. Principal Roberts and Deputy Hayes pulled Ethan out of class. 20 minutes later, they searched his locker, finding 12 vaping devices, small bags of nicotine pods, and nearly $300 in cash wrapped in a rubber band. Ethan's protests echoed down the hallway. This is a setup. Someone's targeting our team. Carter, we have video evidence of you selling these to minors. Principal Roberts replied firmly. This isn't a setup. This is you being held accountable. You don't understand. My family needs. Your family needed you to make better choices. You're suspended pending expulsion hearings. The police will handle the criminal charges for distributing nicotine to minors. By lunch, word had spread. Ethan Carter, the linebacker recruited by 3 state universities, faced criminal charges and expulsion. Lily found Amara at her locker after school. Did you hear about Ethan? Yeah. It's all over school. Pretty shocking. He's saying someone set him up. That someone's targeting the football players. Lily studied Amara's face. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Amara met her gaze steadily. Why would I know about Ethan's illegal business? I don't know. It's just weird timing. With Maya getting arrested and now this. Maybe they're just not as perfect as everyone thought. Lily's expression hardened. Then's gonna lose everything because of this. The words hit Amara harder than expected. She thought of Ethan's desperate face, his family's struggles, the ripple effects of her actions. That's really sad, she said quietly. But Ethan made his own choices. As Lily walked away, Amara felt the weight of what she'd done. Justice, her father said, wasn't always satisfying. Sometimes it just felt heavy. But one target remained, and Noah Reed was already cracking under pressure. With Maya expelled and Ethan facing charges, Noah Reed reached his breaking point. Tuesday evening, he made calls that would change everything. We need to meet, he told Maya over the phone. All 3 of us. I figured out who's doing this to us. Doing what? Maya's voice was bitter from house arrest. Come on, Maya. You think it's a coincidence we all got busted right after we messed with that black cheerleader? Silence. Then, you think she's behind this. I know she is. First, you get arrested for drugs right after we pushed her in the mud. Then Ethan gets caught selling vapes. Someone's been watching us, gathering evidence. Oh, that's impossible. She's just some high school girl. Is she? You ever notice how she never fights back? Just takes everything with that calm look, like she's planning something. Another pause. Meet me at Ethan's house in an hour. I'll figure out how to get there without my parents knowing. An hour later, the 3 sat in Ethan's garage, their usual swagger replaced by fear and rage. This is insane, Ethan said after Noah laid out his theory. You're saying some cheerleader masterminded our downfall. I'm saying someone did, and she's the only one with motive, Noah replied. Who else would want to destroy us? Maya leaned forward, expression dark. Even if you're right, what can we do? I'm under house arrest, Ethan's facing charges, and you're about to be expelled. That's why we need to handle this, Noah said, desperation making him bold. If she's been playing games, it's time to show her what happens when you mess with the wrong people. What are you talking about? Ethan asked. I'm talking about ending this. We find her, corner her somewhere private, get answers. Her then what? Maya's voice was dangerously quiet. Noah's eyes glittered with malice. Then we make sure she understands some battles aren't worth fighting. Ethan nodded slowly. I like it. She wants to play dirty. Let's show her how dirty we can get. This is our chance to take back control. No continued feeding their anger. She thinks she's smart, thinks she can destroy our lives and walk away. Time to teach her actions have consequences. Maya pulled out her phone. First, we need her address. Can't corner her at school with cameras and witnesses. How do we find that? Noah asked. Easy. School directory has everyone's addresses for emergency contacts. Ethan grabbed his laptop. My mom still has access to the parent portal from when she was PTA treasurer. 20 minutes later, they had it. 1240, 7 Maple Street, a quiet residential neighborhood 15 minutes from school. Perfect. Maya said, studying the address on Google Street View. Normal suburban house, probably no security cameras. Nice and isolated. Maya stood, fists clenched. This ends tonight. She thinks she can ruin our lives and walk away. Time to show her what real consequences look like. What if she calls the police? Noah asked, suddenly nervous. She won't get the chance. Maya replied coldly. We do this quick and clean, get answers, make our point, leave. What if her parents wake up? Ethan wondered. Then we improvise. Maya said, but one way or another, this stops tonight. The three spent the next hour planning their confrontation, driven by desperation and the dangerous logic of cornered animals. Remember, Maya said as they prepared to leave, we're not there to hurt her. We're there to get the truth and ensure she knows the price of crossing us. Right? Ethan agreed. Just a conversation. A very serious one. Noah nodded, trying to convince himself they weren't about to do something they'd all regret. Amara had developed a routine of evening walks around her neighborhood, partly for exercise, partly to clear her head after weeks of stress. Her father encouraged it, saying maintaining normal activities was key for psychological health during operations. Wednesday evening at 8:30, she set out on her usual route through quiet suburban streets. The sun had set an hour ago, most families settled in for the night. Streetlights cast long shadows. The only sounds distant TVs and occasional cars on the main road. She was 3 blocks from home, passing Riverside Park, when she heard a car engine slow behind her. Amara's training kicked in. She didn't turn but used peripheral vision and a parked car's window reflection to assess the threat. A dark pickup truck crawled along the curb, matching her pace. Her father's voice echoed. When you're being followed, never let them choose the confrontation's location. Lose them or force the encounter on your terms. The park offered too many hiding spots, no witnesses. Better to stay on the street with porch lights and potential help nearby. She quickened her pace, heading toward the next intersection to turn back home. The truck's doors slammed shut behind her. Hey, Amara. She recognized Maya's voice instantly. Her pulse spiked, but she kept walking, pulling out her phone to call her father. Don't even think about it. Ethan's voice came from her right. He'd circled through the park, now blocking her path to the intersection. Noah appeared from behind a parked car on her left, completing the triangle. They'd planned this ambush carefully. We need to talk, Maya said, approaching from behind. And this time, Daddy's not here to protect you. Amara stopped, turning to face them, keeping all three in sight. The nearest house was 50 yards away, porch light off, no witnesses. What do you want? She asked, voice steady despite adrenaline. We want answers, Maya replied, stepping closer. We know you're behind everything that's happened to us. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop lying, Ethan's face flushed with anger. First, Maya gets busted for drugs right after we teach you a lesson. Then I get caught selling vapes. You think we're stupid. I think you got yourselves in trouble and need someone to blame. Noah's voice shook with fear and anger. You destroyed their lives. Maya lost her scholarships. Ethan's facing charges. What did we do to deserve this? Actions have consequences. Amara replied calmly. Maybe you should have thought about that before putting your hands on me. The words hit like a slap. Maya's expression darkened with recognition. So, you admit it. You've been planning this whole thing? I admit bullies eventually face justice, one way or another. Ethan took a step forward, fists clenched. Justice. You think ruining our futures is justice for some stupid prank? Stupid prank. Amara's calm head cracked slightly. You humiliated me in front of half the school, tore my uniform, made me feel powerless and afraid. Good, Maya snarled. Maybe now you understand how we feel. The difference is, you chose to be bullies. I chose to fight back. Well, congratulations, Ethan said. You won. We're all screwed. Happy now? Not yet. The admission hung like a challenge. Maya's eyes narrowed dangerously. What else do you want from us? I want you to understand there are people you can't intimidate. People who won't be victims just because you think they should. No stepped forward, face twisted with desperation. We get it, okay? You're tough, you're smart, you beat us. Can we call it even now? Even. Amara's voice rose slightly. You think this is even? 3 against 1 girl, cornering me in the dark like cowards. We're not cowards, Ethan exploded, lunging toward her. Amara was ready. She sidestepped Ethan's charge, driving her elbow into his ribs as he passed. He stumbled, gasping, and she pivoted to face Maya, who rushed her from behind. Her father's training took over. Strike fast, strike hard, create distance. Maya reached for her, but Amara ducked under her arms, driving her fist into Maya's solar plexus. As she doubled over, Amara brought her knee up toward Maya's face. But Maya twisted away at the last second. Noah tried to grab her from the side, but Amara spun, caught his wrist, and used his momentum to flip him over her hip. He hit the asphalt hard, crying out. Ethan recovered and came at her again, more cautiously. He was bigger, stronger, but Amara was faster, better trained. She feinted left, struck right, her palm hitting his nose with a sharp crack. Blood spurted as he staggered back. Maya, still winded but furious, pulled something from her pocket, a knife. Enough games? She gasped. You want to play war? Let's play war. The blade gleamed under the streetlight as she advanced. Amara's mind went crystal clear, every weapon defense lesson flooding back. Maya, don't! No called from the ground. This is crazy. But Maya was beyond reason, driven by desperation and rage. She lunged with the knife, aiming for Amara's midsection. Amara caught her wrist with both hands, redirecting the blade using Maya's momentum. She twisted sharply, applying pressure to Maya's thumb joint until she cried out and dropped the weapon. Before Maya could recover, Amara drove her knee into Maya's stomach and followed with an uppercut that snapped her head back. Maya collapsed, semi-conscious, bleeding. 3 opponents down in under 30 seconds. Amara stood over them, breathing hard but unhurt as the reality sank in. These boys had cornered her in the dark with a knife, and she'd beaten them all. Sirens approached in the distance. Someone had called the police. Time to face the consequences. All of them. The first police cruiser arrived within 3 minutes, its flashing lights cutting through the darkness. Officer Lopez stepped out, hand on her weapon, assessing the scene. 3 teenage boys on the ground, 1 girl standing calmly, a knife glinting on the asphalt. Nobody move? She commanded. Hands where I can see them. Amara raised her hands slowly. Officer, I'm Amara Harris. These 3 boys cornered me and 1 pulled a knife. I defended myself. Ethan, sitting up, blood streaming from his broken nose, said, She attacked us. We were just trying to talk. With a knife. Officer Lopez pointed to the weapon near Maya's unconscious form. That's not ours. No, protested, struggling to his feet, grimacing. She must have planted it. A second cruiser arrived, followed by an ambulance. Officer Lopez's partner, Deputy Reed, secured the scene while paramedics checked on Maya, who was groggy but coming to. I need to call my father, Amara said calmly. You're not calling anyone until we sort this out, Officer Lopez replied. What happened here? They followed me from my house and cornered me. They threatened my family earlier this week, and tonight they came to make good on those threats. That's a lie. Ethan spat blood onto the sidewalk. She's been setting us up for weeks. She got Maya arrested. Got me busted for selling vapes. Now she's framing us for assault. Deputy Reed looked up from photographing the knife. This matches the description of a blade stolen from Thompson's garage last week. Family reported it missing. Maya's eyes widened as she sat against the ambulance bumper. I didn't steal anything. Someone's been planning this. At that moment, Commander Harris's truck roared around the corner. He'd been monitoring police scanners and recognized his daughter's name. He parked and approached, military bearing evident. Sir, this is a crime scene. Officer Lopez warned. That's my daughter, he replied, showing his ed. Commander David Harris, retired Navy SEAL. What's her status? She appears uninjured. claims she was attacked by these three boys. Commander Harris surveyed the scene, three larger opponents down. His daughter calm, a weapon not hers. Pride and concern warred in his expression. Amara, are you hurt? No, Dad, I'm fine. Did you follow protocol? Yes, sir. Tried to avoid confrontation. Called for help when I couldn't, used minimum necessary force when cornered. Officer Lopez frowned. Protocol? What kind of protocol? Self-defense training, Commander Harris explained. I've been teaching my daughter basic protection since these boys started harassing her at school. Harassing her. How before Amara could answer, Ethan exploded. This is insane. She's been destroying our lives. Maya lost her scholarships because of her. Because she brought drugs to school. Amara replied evenly. Drugs you planted? Prove it. Deputy Reed stepped forward. We need everyone to the station for statements. This is complex with multiple allegations. My daughter won't answer questions without a lawyer, Commander Harris said firmly. Dad, it's okay. I have nothing to hide. Maya struggled to her feet, supported by a paramedic. You hear that? She has nothing to hide because she planned everything perfectly. Planned what exactly? Officer Lopez asked. Getting revenge on us for putting her in her place at school. The words hung like an admission of guilt. Commander Harris's expression hardened. So, you admit to targeting my daughter at school? Noah, realizing Maya's mistake, tried to backtrack. It wasn't like that. Just normal high school stuff. Normal. Amara's voice carried an edge of anger for the first time. Shoving me into a mud puddle. Tearing my uniform in front of everyone was normal. You didn't belong on our team, Ethan shouted. You never belonged at our school. Officer Lopez exchanged glances with her partner. The racial undertones were becoming impossible to ignore. I think we need serious conversations downtown, she said, about harassment, assault with a deadly weapon, and civil rights violations. Civil rights. Noah's voice cracked with panic. Targeting someone because of their race is a federal crime, son. And from what I'm hearing, that's exactly what happened. The three boys looked at each other with growing horror as the legal implications sank in. What started as harassment over a cheer squad position was now potentially a federal hate crime investigation. Commander Harris placed a protective hand on Amara's shoulder. Officer Lopez, my daughter has been documenting harassment for weeks. We have evidence of escalating threats and racial targeting. Tonight was the inevitable culmination. We'll need to see that evidence. You'll have it within the hour. As the boys were loaded into separate police cars, Amara finally breathed. The confrontation was over, but the real battle for justice was just beginning. The weeks following the arrest transformed Amara's life in ways she hadn't anticipated. What began as a personal fight for dignity became a national conversation about bullying, racial harassment, and justice in American schools. The first major shift came when the FBI opened a federal hate crime investigation. Agent Laura Chen arrived at the Harris house 3 days after the attack, her badge and serious demeanor making the stakes clear. The knife attack was just the culmination. Agent Chen explained in their living room. We're building a case around systematic harassment based on race. This goes beyond assault. It's a federal civil rights violation. Commander Harris nodded grimly. What do you need from us? Everything. Every text, social media post, witness statement. We're building an airtight case that sends a message. Meanwhile, the three boys' families scrambled to manage the crisis. Maya Thompson's father hired Edward Stone, the state's most expensive criminal defense attorney, for $50,000. Ethan Carter's family mortgaged their house to afford legal representation. Noah Reed's mother worked extra shifts to pay for a public defender. Media attention started with a local report but exploded when video of the fight surfaced. A Ring doorbell camera captured the entire confrontation. 3 large boys cornering one girl, Maya pulling a knife, Amara defeating all 3. Teen girl fights off racist attackers. Screamed national headlines. Cable news ran the footage on loop. Social media erupted with support for Amara and outrage at the boys' actions. 2 weeks after the arrest, Ken's Anderson Cooper interviewed Amara and her father in their living room. Amara, when those 3 boys cornered you, what was going through your mind? Cooper asked. That this was what my father prepared me for. Amara replied calmly. Not the fight, but the moment I had to choose between being a victim or standing up for myself. Commander Harris, you taught your daughter to fight. Any regrets? David Harris's expression was steel. My only regret is that it was necessary. But I'd rather have a daughter who can defend herself than one who suffers in silence. The interview drew 20 million viewers, sparking debates about self-defense, parental responsibility, and systemic racism in schools. Back in Ridgeview, the community was divided. Many supported Amara, praising her courage. Others believed the boys were unfairly prosecuted for typical teenage behavior. The school district faced a federal investigation. Principal Roberts was placed on administrative leave pending review of how the harassment was handled. Coach Thompson was fired immediately when investigators found he'd known about the boys' behavior and failed to report it. 3 months into the legal process, plea negotiations began. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages planning the attack, social media posts with racial slurs, witness testimony about months of harassment, and the Ring camera footage. Maya Thompson's attorney, Edward Stone, met with Emily Wong in her office on a rainy Tuesday morning. "My client will plead to simple assault," Stone offered. "No hate crime charges. She serves 18 months, and this goes quietly." Wong laughed coldly. "Your client brought a knife to attack a 16-year-old girl because of her race. We have her on video. The plea is assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy, and federal hate crime violations. 4 years minimum. That's her entire future. She should have considered that before terrorizing a child." The Stone tried another approach. "What if she makes a public apology? Shows remorse. Has she shown remorse?" Wong pulled out transcripts. Urgent Chen intercepted her jailhouse calls yesterday. She called Miss Harris the N-word 6 times and promised to finish the job when she gets out. Does that sound like remorse? Stone's face fell. His client's case was hopeless. Similar conversations played out with Ethan and Noah's lawyers. Ethan's communications were full of violent revenge fantasies. Only Noah showed genuine remorse, writing apology letters and participating in racial sensitivity counseling. Community pressure intensified as the trial date approached. Ridgeview High's football program was suspended for the season. The school board held emergency meetings about new anti-harassment policies. Property values in the district declined as families considered moving away from the negative publicity. Maya Thompson's family felt the economic impact most severely. Thompson Construction lost 3 major contracts when clients refused to work with the company. Maya's mother, a real estate agent, found clients unwilling to be represented by the mother of that racist boy. Ethan Carter's father was laid off from his construction job when the company deemed his association with the case bad for business. His mother increased her diner hours, but the family faced bankruptcy. Reed's divorced mother struggled most. As a hospital worker, she faced constant questions and judgment from colleagues. Several of Noah's extended family cut contact, ashamed of the association. The boys were held in separate facilities to prevent story coordination. Maya, in county adult lockup due to the weapons charge, gained a reputation for her racist attitude and frequent disciplinary issues. Ethan, in juvenile detention, spent most of his time in protective custody after fights with inmates who saw the news. Noah, also in juvenile detention, participated in counseling and wrote dozens of apology letters, hoping to influence sentencing. 6 months after the attack, media attention led to documentary deals, book offers, and speaking requests for Amara. She turned them down, focusing on her grades and her new role as student body president, won in a landslide election. Plea agreements were finalized in February. Maya would plead guilty to all charges for a recommended 4-year sentence. Ethan would accept 3 years as the primary enforcer. Noah, with his cooperation and remorse, would plead to 18 months in juvenile detention. The final court session occurred on a cold March morning. The courthouse was surrounded by protesters, some supporting Amara, demanding justice, others claiming the boys were unfairly punished. Media trucks lined the streets. Inside, Judge Patricia Ellis reviewed the case file before a packed courtroom. She'd served on the bench for 30 years, handling everything from fraud to murder, but the Ridgeview High hate crime case drew unprecedented attention. We're here for the sentencing of defendants Thompson, Carter, and Reed, who have pleaded guilty to assault, conspiracy, and federal hate crime violations, she announced. Amara sat beside Da Wong, wearing a simple blue dress her mother bought for the occasion. Behind her, Commander Harass watched with military bearing. Flanked by supporters from school and the community, Olivia Baker and other cheerleaders had driven to show support. Across the aisle, the three boys sat with their attorneys, their families filling the rows behind. Maya's parents looked aged by stress and public humiliation. Ethan's family appeared financially and emotionally drained. No's mother wept quietly, having lost her son to the justice system. Do Wong rose to deliver her final arguments. Your Honor, this case is more than teenage bullying gone wrong. The defendants engaged in a systematic campaign of racial harassment that culminated in a premeditated assault with a deadly weapon. The evidence shows months of planning, coordination, and escalating violence driven by hatred. She opened a thick folder. Text messages between the defendants refer to Miss Harass as that N-word cheerleader and discuss ways to get rid of her. Social media posts show them encouraging others to harass her. Witness testimony confirms they made her life miserable for months before the final attack. Edward Stone, Maya's attorney, attempted damage control. Your Honor, my clients were confused. Angry teenagers who made poor choices. They've lost their college opportunities, futures, reputations. They've learned their lesson through consequences. Have they? Wong countered, pulling transcripts. Yesterday, we intercepted jailhouse communications where Miss Thompson refers to the victim using racial slurs and promises to finish what we started upon release. Mr. Carter has made similar statements about revenge. The courtroom murmured with disgust. Maya's father sagged, realizing his daughter had sealed her fate. Judge Ellis studied the documents with growing displeasure. Miss Thompson, stand up. Maya rose shakily, her orange jumpsuit stark against the expensive varsity jacket she once wore. 30 years on this bench, I've seen many young people make mistakes and learn. But what you and your co-defendants did goes far beyond teenage error. You targeted a fellow student because of her race, escalated harassment over months, and attacked her with a deadly weapon while threatening her family. Stone tried to interrupt. Your Honor, if I may? You may not. Judge Ellis's voice cut like steel. Miss Thompson, you were the ringleader. You planned the attack, brought the weapon, led the assault. Your recent communications show no remorse, only continued racial hatred and threats. Multiple mistakes over months, with calculated malicious intent and clear racial animus. She consulted her sentencing guidelines. Sentence you to 4 years in state prison, followed by 3 years supervised probation with mandatory racial sensitivity counseling. You are permanently banned from all Ridgeview School District properties and prohibited from contacting the victim or her family. Maya's mother burst into sobs. Her father sat stone-faced, staring at the destruction of his daughter's future and family reputation. Mr. Carter, stand up. Ethan rose, hands trembling. His family couldn't afford an attorney like Maya's, and his public defender looked overwhelmed. You were an active participant in this conspiracy. Your communications show you encouraged violence, used racial epithets repeatedly, and physically participated in the assault. 3 years state prison, 2 years probation with the same counseling requirements and contact restrictions. Ethan's knees buckled slightly. His girlfriend Lily, who stood by him early on, had broken up with him when jailhouse recordings went public. Mr. Reed. No could barely stand, face pale, streaked with tears. Unlike his co-defendants, he'd spent months in genuine remorse, writing letters, participating in counseling, cooperating fully. You were the follower but participated willingly in racial harassment and assault. However, your cooperation, counseling participation, and demonstrated remorse distinguish your case. 18 months in juvenile detention, followed by 2 years probation and 500 hours of community service with racial justice organizations. No's mother wept with relief. 18 months was devastating, but not the years-long sentence she'd feared. Judge Ellis addressed the courtroom. Let this case warn every parent, administrator, and young person. Hate crimes will be prosecuted to the fullest extent in my jurisdiction. The defendants' futures were destroyed not by their victims' response, but by their own choices to engage in racially motivated violence. She looked at Amara. Miss Harass, would you like to make a victim impact statement? Amara stood slowly, feeling every eye in the courtroom. The girl shoved into a mud puddle 8 months ago was gone. In her place was a young woman who'd faced hatred and emerged stronger. I didn't want any of this. She began, voice clear, carrying to every corner. I wanted to make the cheer team, get good grades, have a normal high school experience. These defendants took that choice away when they decided I didn't belong in their world. She faced the 3 boys. You thought you could intimidate me into disappearing. You thought threats and violence would make me quit and transfer. Instead, you taught me that standing up to bullies is the only way to stop them from hurting others. Her voice grew stronger. I hope prison teaches you what empathy and decency couldn't. I hope you learn every person deserves respect, regardless of race. And I hope when you get out, you spend your lives making up for the hatred you've spread. Maya's eyes blazed with unrepentant fury. Ethan stared at the floor in shame. No looked genuinely broken by remorse and consequences. This court is adjourned. As the gavel fell, the courtroom erupted in controlled chaos. Reporters surged toward exits to file stories. The defendants were led away in handcuffs, their families following in grief, anger, devastation. Outside, Amara and her father stood on the courthouse steps as cameras flashed and reporters shouted. Miss Harris, how do you feel about the sentences? A Finn correspondent called. I feel justice was served. Amara replied confidently. These boys' learned actions have consequences, no matter who your family is, how much money you have, or what you think you're entitled to. What message for other students facing harassment? Document everything. Tell trusted adults. Remember you have the right to defend yourself and demand justice. Commander Harris wrapped an arm around his daughter's shoulders. I'm proud of her for standing up for herself and for every student who won't face what she faced because of her courage. As they walked through the crowd of supporters and media, Amara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Carried for nearly a year, the fight was over, justice prevailed. The real victory wasn't just the prison sentences or court vindication. It was knowing she'd faced hatred and violence with courage, intelligence, determination, and emerged victorious. 1 year later, Amara Harris stood at the podium in Ridgeview High's newly renovated auditorium, addressing an assembly on anti-bullying and racial justice. The irony wasn't lost on her. Speaking in the school where 3 boys once tried to destroy her for her skin color. A year ago, I thought my biggest challenge would be learning cheer routines. She began, voice carrying through the packed auditorium. I never imagined I'd have to fight for my right to exist here without harassment. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. In the front row sat Principal Johnson, Roberts' replacement, with new coaching staff and school board members. The old guard that enabled the harassment was gone, replaced by administrators committed to a safer environment. But I learned something important. Amara continued. Bullies only have the power you give them. When you stand up and demand justice, they lose that power. After the assembly, Olivia Baker found Amara in the hallway. Now team captain, Olivia had transformed the cheer program into one focused on inclusivity and school spirit, not social hierarchy. That was amazing, Olivia beamed. Did you see how quiet everyone got when you mentioned the knife? They needed to hear it, Amara replied. Some still think what happened was just boys being boys. Not anymore, they don't. Not after seeing Maya Thompson on the news last week. News coverage had been devastating for Maya's image. She'd been involved in a racial incident at state prison, attacking a black inmate, earning additional charges, her original 4-year sentence extended to 7. The Golden Girl quarterback was now a career criminal with a white supremacist reputation. Heard anything about Ethan? Olivia asked. He's been writing letters, Amara said, apologizing, asking forgiveness. My dad thinks he might be changing. Ethan Carter had taken a different path in prison. After being beaten by inmates who recognized him from the news, he requested protective custody and began educational programs. His letters to Amara, which she read but didn't respond to, showed genuine remorse and growing understanding of his actions' impact. And no, he gets out next month. His mom says he wants to transfer schools, start fresh. Noah Reed had served his full 18-month sentence and completed community service with racial justice organizations. Unlike his former friends, he'd used detention to educate himself about racism. His transformation seemed genuine, though Amara remained cautious. That evening, Amara found her father in the basement gym, working out as he did nightly. The space had evolved since her training began. New equipment, photos of her achievements, newspaper clippings of their victory. How'd the assembly go? He asked, pausing his workout. Good. Kids are listening. Some shared their own harassment stories afterward. Commander Harris smiled with pride. You've become quite the speaker. Harvard's lucky to have you. Amara had been accepted to Harvard with a full academic scholarship. her essay on overcoming racial harassment impressing the admissions committee. She'd also received scholarship offers from 12 other universities, eager to recruit the girl who'd become a symbol of courage and resilience. "I keep thinking about what you said that first night," she reflected, "about creating your own justice when the system fails. Do you regret any of it?" Amara considered the question. The past year had been tough. Death threats from white supremacist groups, constant media attention, stress of testimony in court proceedings. But it brought rewards: friendships with students who admired her courage, respect from adults who saw her handle adversity with grace, knowledge she'd created real change. "No," she said finally. "I regret it was necessary, but I don't regret fighting back." Her phone buzzed with a text from her guidance counselor. "News crew here wants interview about new anti-harassment policies." Interested. "Another interview request," she told her father. "You don't have to keep doing them. You've already changed things here." "I know, but maybe one more student will see it and realize they don't have to accept being treated badly." The changes at Ridgeview High were comprehensive. The new administration implemented zero-tolerance harassment policies, mandatory diversity training for staff, anonymous reporting systems for students. The football program was rebuilt with coaches prioritizing character over wins. The cheer squad actively recruited from all demographics, focusing on supporting the student body. The district hired Dr. Angela Foster, a national expert on racial equity in education, as Director of Student Safety and Inclusion. Her first initiative was peer mediation programs and restorative justice circles to address conflicts before escalation. 2 weeks later, Amara received an unexpected visitor. Noah Reed stood nervously on her porch, accompanied by his mother and a social worker. He looked different, thinner, more mature, with eyes holding genuine remorse, not the desperate fear from the trial. "Amara, I don't expect forgiveness," he began, voice shaking. "I just want you to know I understand now how wrong we were, how much we hurt you." She studied him, seeing none of the arrogance or hatred that drove him to harass her. Prison and counseling had changed him, but she remained cautious. "What do you want from me?" "No. Nothing. I want to take responsibility for what I did and say I'm sorry. Really sorry." His mother stepped forward. "I'm sorry too, Amara. I failed to raise my son with the values he needed. I'm ashamed of what he did to you." The social worker nodded. "No has completed extensive counseling and community service. He wants to dedicate his life to preventing what happened to you from happening to others." "I'm transferring to Lincoln High," No continued, starting fresh. "But I wanted you to know I understand now. What we did was evil, and you had every right to fight back." Amara looked at this broken boy who once helped destroy her uniform and humiliate her. She felt no satisfaction in his downfall, only a tired acknowledgement that justice sometimes looked messy, incomplete, but real. "Hope you've really learned, Noah. I hope you spend your life ensuring other kids never face what I did." "Will. I promise." As they left, Amara felt a strange closure. Not forgiveness, that would take longer, if ever, but recognition that people could change, even after terrible acts. Standing in her doorway, watching Noah Reed walk away forever, Amara reflected on her journey. A year ago, she'd been a girl trying to fit into a hostile environment. Now, she was a young woman who'd proven justice was possible. Even when it seemed impossible, she'd fought for her place in the world and won. More importantly, she'd made that place safer for everyone who came after her. The battle was over, the victory complete, and Amara Harris was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like and follow so you don't miss the next one. In the meantime, I've handpicked 2 stories I think you'll enjoy. Have a great day.